If you're tuning in, if you can hear our voices, guess what? You made it. Another episode.
Another episode, another day.
That's right. This is where it all happens. You have found us through the interwebs, and I got some exciting news for you. Now, guess what?
What, Preston?
We have an awesome guest this week.
I could have told you that.
I know you could have told me, but allow me to introduce. We have Christianna Carmine with us today.
Yeah, you're going to be real excited about this one, y'all.
I love it. She is a writer. She is a director, a do-it-all woman.
Yeah, she is. She's won a lot of film festivals. She's been a part of a lot of film festivals. She just won Best Director at Oregon Short Film Festival a few months ago, and she is on the board of Alliance of Women Directors, and I will let her tell you a little bit more about the stuff that she's been working on and how she came to be a director and a writer and what led her to where she's at today. Welcome, Christianna.
Thanks, guys. Wow, what an introduction. Can I just come here every day? And
yes, you can.
Just introduce me on your podcast?
Hey, we're always here.
That's why we're here.
We're literally in our living room.
This is awesome.
This is all we do all day, guys.
On top of the 100 things that you can do in this industry, you're also expecting.
I am. I can't even believe it myself.
So exciting.
Biggest production of my life.
Right?
It's pretty awesome though. She's like, listen, you ladies, like when you think about it, I'm a new mama. She's going to be a new mama. Like, doesn't mean that you got to stop like doing the thing. Like she's still working. She's still hustling. You know what I mean? And mad respect.
Thank you.
Right.
I'm directing a project. It's a very short project on June 30th and July 1st. And also, I was supposed to be doing a project 3 weeks before my due date.
Oh, wow.
But thankfully, or maybe not thankfully, I don't know, it's been pushed to the third week of October. So I'm going to have a newborn, but I have amazing producers who are like, whatever, it's cool, whatever you need. So I will.
Can you share a little bit about what that is, or you kind of want to hold on?
No, of course. So it's what the project is.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So basically, last year I was hired to direct a project called Enough Room, and the story was originally told during the Shoot 'Em Up series. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but shout out to Shoot 'Em Up. It's basically a storytelling series, kind of like the Moth series.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So people will go up and tell a story, and I'm really remiss that I cannot right now. I only remember Gary's name, but there's a duo of dudes that are kind of awesome, and they get storytellers together, all different types of people, and tell a story from their life. And ironically, before I met Bobby Becerra, who told her story, I had done Shoot 'Em Up myself last July.
No way.
Yeah, as a part of AWD, Alliance of Women Directors. I serve on the board, and at the last minute, they needed a storyteller, and they're like, Christianna, can you tell a story? And I'm like,
You're like, can't
Yes,
I?
please.
have you met me? So, which was an amazing experience. And basically, you tell a story up in front of a bunch of people at a different location, and you get assigned, a screenwriter gets assigned to your story.
Awesome.
And they can do basically whatever they want with it. And then a director gets assigned to that writer's story. And so Bobby told a story, I believe it was 2 years ago, and then a script was written as part of her story. And she hired me to. Now the script has since been rewritten by another writer with the approval of the original writer, and it's basically a social commentary comedy about racism and acceptance and tolerance. And I was really blessed to be brought on board as the director. I'm so excited, and working with a really great team. Yeah.
So how does that work? Like, is it would you imagine something like a short film that then you would cast? Like, you would go through the whole casting process, bring on actors and like all that stuff? Yeah.
So this is a reimagining of her original story.
Okay.
To be totally honest, I can't remember if they actually shot something from what the screenplay that they originally wrote. I'm not really 100% sure, but this is a reimagining of that project. So we hired Lauren Chavez Myers is the writer who was hired to reimagine the story, Bobby's original story.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. And Lauren Chavez Myers is also one of the producers on the project. And so we are in like the very early phases of pre-production, sort of working. I do work with a team. I have a DP and a focus puller and a first AC and a scriptie that I work with. So I come with like a team of people, which is really great. But then, it's just a question of really pulling our resources together to make sure that we have everything that we need to make a really above board and really fantastic project. Because as you know, funding for female-driven stories is a little hard now.
A little hard these days.
Just a tad difficult. And people don't care. They're like, oh my God, you're a woman of color director. This is so great. And we're like, no, it's really not.
It's actually not super easy, guys.
No.
And we always love diving in to all of our guests, figuring out how did you get into this whole crazy business of ours, and what kind of led you from the very beginning. We can start at birth if you like.
Well, let's see. It was on a plane. No.
Right?
I was born on a plane.
Born on a plane.
Already so dramatic.
So dramatic. The plains of Long Island. No. The plains of Brooklyn, actually.
I love it.
I was born, I'm from New York originally, Brooklyn girl. I started as an actor, moved out to LA because I had booked a really small role in a show, but I was like, I've made it.
You're like, I'm here.
Yeah. And
I'm set for life.
I'm set for life. I was like, this is fantastic. I can't wait to go to my high school reunion and be famous.
Right.
That didn't happen.
No? Gosh. Oh, right. I missed mine.
Wait, that did not?
It did not. I was like, I'm totally going to be like red carpet Christianna.
Guess what, guys? Guess what I'm doing? In case you were wondering.
Totally. I actually had booked a 2-line role, and I was like brand new to LA, 2-line role in a film with Steve Martin, and I told my I think I went through the yearbook and told everybody, emailed.
You're like, I'm definitely telling you because you're annoying, and I'm definitely telling you. Just kidding.
I'm not even lying. I mean, it was I emailed my entire high school class, and I was like, I'm gonna be in this movie, and I got cut out, and I didn't even get a credit. And
oh, girl,
really
been there.
Isn't that the worst?
Oh, uncredited, that uncredited credit. Yep.
So,
yeah, that's something that you don't know about whenever you are interested in jumping in. It's like you get your first job, you get an exciting opportunity, and then you watch it and you're like, hey, friends, come here. Hey, family, watch
learned my
this.
lesson.
And then, whoops, that happened to you, right? That happened in a commercial.
The first commercial I ever did was a National Pizza Hut.
Oh, yes.
And it was just awful. Because it wasn't awful. I got there on set. I was the only person of color. I was only the only ethnic person there, and they were like, urban. I'm like, there ain't nobody urban here but me. What are y'all talking about urban? It was all these white folks, blonde hair, blue eyes. It was hilarious. So I get there and we're doing all this pizza. Anyway, whatever. I was watching the commercial and I was like, oh my gosh, there it is. Oh my gosh. And then I'm watching it and I'm like, oh, that must be the short version because I'm not in it.
Oh gosh.
And I was like, or maybe there's another version. Guess what? No I was completely cut out, and there was no ethnicity whatsoever. This was 2007.
Oh, right, because when you're ethnic, 2007.
Come on, they were like, what?
What's that?
Unless you're going to do a gangster accent, we don't want you.
What's up?
Yeah, and
Pizza Hut.
So yeah, I get all about that. You had this amazing credit, you had this thing, and then you're like, wait, how come what happened?
Gone.
And that's what brought you here, right? Getting that job, or you got it when you first got here?
That job, I was brought out. It was an untitled detective project that got me out to LA, and that never got picked up.
So cool though that you were like, peace out, New York.
Oh, I was gone. I was out the door. I was in my car. It was great. And then, of course, the project didn't get picked up, and so my agency at the time was like, bye. And it was just
brutal.
It was brutal. And I did, I kept we can be here all night and tell you I was here for 2 months. Not even 2 months. My apartment burned down. It was a disaster.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I lost everything in the fire.
Wait a second. I think I remember us talking at some point. Did you used to live right up this road?
I did.
He did there too.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a fun fact. We lived in the same apartment complex.
Shut the front door.
I did when I first moved
at
here.
Pacific Point?
Pacific Point.
No flipping way,
I
dude.
found a dude off Craigslist who was renting out his living room space.
He was basically sleeping on his living room
So
floor.
I slept on the floor.
Shut up.
Pacific Point. She told me. I was like, wait, what?
So it's oh, Christianna used to live right here. And he's
So
like,
did.
what? I live there too. Anyway.
You can still see the patch of roof that had to be replaced because my apartment was gutted. I lost
gosh.
everything, sadly, including kitty cat. I mean, it was like,
oh my goodness.
And I was like homeless for like 6 weeks, sleeping on total strangers' couches because I just moved here with my friend. It was like a disaster.
Girl, resilience, because most people would have been packing up their shit and being like, peace, I'm going back home.
Oh, hell no. I was like, I'm staying right here.
We're going to figure this out.
That's awful.
Yeah. So, so I acted for a while, or tried to act actually, forever. And I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do something that's going to put me on the map. So I'm going to write a role for myself and I'm going to do this project. And I wrote this short just about like a struggling actor. It was like totally,
I remember, I saw it. It was so great.
And I'm not going to say the year when that was actually shot. And
2018, right?
Oh yeah, it's totally.
It was like last year.
It was really. And my the original DP on the film took off to Spain. I had to sue to get the money. I mean, it was.
Wait,
you were like a typical Hollywood's dream story nightmare.
Yeah,
Wait, they took off with the footage?
Took off with, and I shot that on film. And he went bye with footage.
Why did he take it?
In his words, he said that I was too consumed with other projects, and it didn't look like I was actually ever going to finish the movie. So he took my developed film and went away. And I had to it was all this back and forth, I had to get a lawyer. It was a disaster. But all through his now ex-wife, because he basically they broke up.
He basically was an asshole. He basically was an asshole.
He was definitely an asshole.
It sounds like a treat.
He sounds like a real dreamboat.
It was not. I was not a happy camper, but I did get the footage back.
Good.
Made my own version of the film, but that was several years later.
Did you directed that, right?
I directed it and I acted in that one because I was like, this is going to be my big thing. And I had actually, in that film, had won a couple of awards. It had won me a Best Actor award. And I kind of just was and I actually finished that film because it wasn't done. When I got the footage back, when I got the reels back, I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And my mother-in-law had seen some snippets when she was here visiting, and she was like, why haven't you done anything with this movie?
Awesome.
And she showed it to my husband, and he was like, what's wrong with you? So I finished it and whatever, did the thing. And then after that, after having that first film festival experience, I was like, oh, okay.
You got the bug.
I got the bug. And
That's what it is.
Totally. I was like, this is really dope. So I think it was 2 years later, I directed my second short film, Darrell. That one starred Michael Knight, who won a bunch of daytime Emmy Awards for his role as Tad Martin.
Oh yeah. What was the soap again? Is it General Hospital, Jason Rely?
I think it's one. I think it
All
was
My
All My Children.
All My Children. All My Children.
Oh yes.
Yes.
If I got that wrong, I'm gonna get lynched, I think.
Hey, listen, you're pregnant. It's called Prego Brain.
I know.
That's right.
It's a thing, you guys.
Excuse.
Hey, it's for real.
It's for real.
It is a thing.
Or stoned. No, it's not stoned like smoking stoned, but stoned with rocks. Anyway, if I got that wrong, but yeah. And then after that, I was hired. I have not done one of my own projects since. All of the projects subsequent to that I've been hired to do.
That's awesome.
So the transition came from you're wanting to create your own work essentially. Yeah. And then through that being kind of thrust into the director role, that's where it bit you.
Totally. My I have to be really careful. I want to be as politically correct as possible here, but or as respectful. But I also too had an experience where I won't say, I did a film that had a really nice budget, and at the time I was like, I really want to quit acting, and my husband was like, no, you love it too much, you're good at it, whatever,
just keep pushing, girl, right?
Just keep pushing. And we went to go see this film that I was in.
I remember the story.
And it was this big to do. They hired press. I mean, it was like a big deal. And I had like a decent role in it, you know?
Yeah.
And halfway through the movie, he looked at me and he was like, "You can quit now."
He's like, "All right, we done." Because I would imagine a lot of that stuff is so out of your control. Like you could have done the best job.
Totally.
But if everything else is not coming together, then it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Right?
I literally looked like Kevin from Home Alone. I was like, I don't even,
You're like, this is the same movie that we shot?
Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
yeah, it was, and I was like, yeah, I'm, if you're doing like projects where you're like, yeah, this, I can like sink my teeth into it. But I just never had that experience really.
It's hard. It's hard when you're, looking at the breakdowns and all you see is like, really? That's the same stuff that's just
like, how is this getting made? Like, how is this getting made?
And it probably isn't getting made. It's probably like, someone who's going to take off with the footage or something. I heard the craziest thing I heard, it's not related to film, but a buddy of mine edited a wedding video. He's in the film industry, but that's how he pays his bills. He didn't get their video back to them until after they were divorced.
No.
That's a mess.
Isn't that crazy? Granted, it was about a year, but maybe he's the reason. They're like, we could never remember what it was like.
That's crazy.
Isn't that sad?
So, speaking of, so directing, I find it interesting and I find it so cool too. At the same time that you have an acting background, and I've seen you act. You're an amazing actress, and I remember even directing that play that I went to go see you at the Complex so long ago. But it was so great, and I think. You have these different types of directors out there that some, I think, tend to focus more on like the visual of certain things. Like, do you feel that that's a strength of yours coming in when you're working with your actors, that you can actually talk to them from like story and character versus like just technical? Or do you like obviously both of kind of ways of doing things, or what style do you think you gravitate towards?
It's the weirdest thing, and I just answered this question recently. I'm actually more of like a visual director than I am an actor's director.
Interesting.
It's so weird. And I work with actors as like for auditions and coaching and that sort of thing. And there it's like I get in it. I'm like, yeah, I love it. I'm doing dumb things in the room with them and whatever. Right. But then I get on set and I'm like, there's kind of I shift more into like what the story that's coming together visually is going to look like, and I really allow for the actors to do what they do best. And then if I'm like something not flowing right, then I'm like, okay, we're gonna get in there and we're gonna work with story and we're gonna work with character. But I'm one of those types of people that I really like to give people room to play. Like I'm not going to tell a script supervisor how to do his or her job. I'm not going to tell...
You're not going to give an actor a line read.
Oh, absolutely not. Unless I'm really not...
Unless you bet. Just kidding.
Right, unless you bet. But unless I'm not getting... I'm like, okay.
What you need. And if you're just tuning in and you're not in the business at all, a line read is whenever you tell someone how they should say something specifically.
Right.
Say it like this.
Exactly.
I need to walk my dog. Say it like this. I need to walk my dog. Say it like that. I need to walk my dog. I don't know.
It's a great example.
Like, I will do this crazy dance. I'll be like, pretend like, just so I don't have to get, and I very rarely have to give people a line read, but yeah, I try not. So the way things come together on the screen, and that is with the actors' movements and the lines are like,
that's awesome.
You know what I mean? Yeah. You have to be able to, I want to be able to turn the sound off.
And still be interested.
Totally.
Yeah. And I think that's, it is a big visual medium, movies. And it's,
oh, for sure.
It's something that we have a discussion all the time when we're creating our own stuff. Is like, what are we making that is worth being a film over a play or over a different, medium.
Yeah.
And I think the combination of all the different technical skills coming together with the artistry of the acting piece, I think is such a beautiful marriage,
Yeah.
I think, going back to the movie that you watched and you're like, oh man, like what just happened? I've always heard and I've experienced it myself that there are really 3 movies that are made. You know, the first one is whenever they write it. The writer writes it. And then the second one is while you're shooting. Things come together or don't come together. The weather keeps you from shooting outside, but this very magical inside scene happens as a result. And then there's that third movie that's made on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that to be a part of the world, it's something that, like, you almost have to come to grips with, like, adding your little flavor as an actor and being like, all right, have fun.
Yeah.
You know, what's beautiful about a director is depending on when you get brought into the project, you can kind of usher that through the whole process. Is there any particular process, pre-production, production, post-production, that you love the most? Is there something that you really just like, yes, I'm glad I get to do that?
I do love post, but I've been so blessed and lucky that my DP is also an editor. He's also an amazing director, Giovanni Lago.
Do you work with him on a lot of your stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, like we're working together on the project this at the end of the month. We're working on the October project. I mean, and he and I've the film that I won the Best Director award. He DP'd that project. He's just a phenomenal cinematographer, director of photography, and he and I like have like just this
like you click
totally, like
that's awesome.
It's literally like I will start. I'm like, I remember on set of Solstice once I was like, I want to do this. And he just finished the sentence because I couldn't quite. I don't know what I was trying to say, but he was just like blah blah blah, and I was like, yes. And
that's awesome. It's like a dance.
It is. And he like totally, we can just read each other's minds. And so I love editing with Gio because we've shot the project together. We've shot-listed the project together. Then we've shot the project, and now we're in the editing room, and it's just this phenomenal like sort of marriage of ideas and, well, what if we do this and whatever. So I do love post, but pre-production, oh God, I hate it.
You're like, I'm keeping it real.
I'm just like, I get excited for some things. Like today we were Gio and I were just, we were shot listing and we were at the location we're going to shoot in, and it's this teeny tiny little bathroom, and we're like, yeah, we have all these ideas, and we're like laughing. We're like, this is going to be hilarious. And, that I really like, but when I have to sit down and do my own shot list, I'm like, I don't want to.
Like, I don't want to do this. It's a lot. I mean, even for like a 3-page sketch that we've done, I'm like, so tedious. It's just tedious.
Totally.
And if you were to kind of put into, simple words for anyone who might be listening who isn't familiar, what would a shot list be in terms of?
That's a great question. Basically, a shot list is determining where the camera is going to be in a scene, if you will. So if I was shot listing this right here, I'd be like, okay, close up, on medium close up on Preston, dirty over the shoulder, and this is all where the camera is. A dirty shot is basically like you can see the other character in the shot while you're focusing on the character that's speaking, for example, or maybe listening. And it can be
tedious.
It can be tedious because I don't like to do shot reverse, because that's boring.
Right.
We can all do that. But I also too don't want to get crazy and be like Dutch angle, and and Dutch angle is like a tilt.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think we did something like that with this like sketch I shot.
Yeah.
That was like
the scary movie.
Freaking Fluffy the Exorcist.
It can be super tedious because you're going through line by line in visualizing it without actually having the camera.
Right.
And then writing it out. Right. And that's so boring if you're not like actually shooting it.
Right. Unless you like Shot Lister, which I do have, and I really love Shot Lister.
That's cool.
Shout out to
That's like a person who actually does that?
No.
An app, it sounds like.
Oh, it's a program. I was like, is that a person?
It's so good. I really love it. I do Shot Lister. Some of it's like too complicated. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing. But yeah, like I remember on my first movie, the first AD was like, do you have your shot list? And I'm like, I don't know what that is. I was like, I better learn though.
That brings me to a good question. You were in the acting world, and then you were thrust into the director. What was the learning curve like?
Very sharp.
Yeah.
It was like a hairpin. Like I had whiplash. No. There are certain things without I mean, honestly, like, and as much as I was unhappy with my first shooter who ran away with the movie,
Right.
I have to give him credit where credit is due, in that a lot of why that movie, there were definitely shots that I wanted. I was like, well, I know I want this, you know, but I do have to give him a lot of credit in doing a lot in sort of guiding me into how we can do things and make it work, on the fly with no shot list. I mean, we shot that movie with no shot list.
Wow.
Which a lot of like the bigger directors do.
Yeah.
I like working with one. I like storyboarding.
That's also a way, I'm sure. Here's the thing, like, I'm sure that's also a way to stay organized.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? I mean, some people can, I'm sure, like, if they've been doing it and whatever, have a way. But, like, I would imagine just, like, you forget a shot and then you're in editing and you're like, oh, we need that shot for this to work.
And it's, thankfully, there's only been, I can think of one time where I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe I didn't get that shot. Because I've done 2 films without, I've done only 2 with no shot list, like a dummy, or as like a dum-dum. It's not, I would say. And so, yeah, so it was after I shot my second movie, I was like, I better educate myself. And so, like, I went and took classes, and I took cinematography classes, and I took directing classes, and I took film theory classes. Like, I was like,
awesome.
You know,
a sponge.
I totally,
yeah. But I love that. You know what I love about that, and I think it's so inspiring for listeners and just people that are either writing, directing, whatever it is that you're doing in this industry. It's like you didn't shy away from something that you weren't already like a pro at. Like, I think so many times you can get so intimidated by things that, like, you feel like you have, because I know I struggle with this for sure, where you feel like you want to get it right out the gate. So you kind of just procrastinate.
Yeah,
because you don't want to fail. Right. And I think that in the failing, not fortunately or unfortunately, but fortunately and unfortunately, you will learn. Yeah. You will learn. So you were like, you know what? Like, I messed up on these 2 things, or messed up, or like had to learn. But then you went and like took all these classes. I remember when you were telling me you were going to take this and that class, and I was like, she's like, for real. Like, that's awesome, because you still were doing and trying to do stuff as you were learning. You didn't wait to have it all figured out to then give yourself permission to go do something.
For sure.
Which I think is awesome.
I'm still figuring it out.
Right.
Yeah, but isn't that part, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's part of it.
Yeah.
And you've always had a drive, it sounds like, even from, making the move from, New York to here. What have you always had the drive that like propels you to, I don't have the knowledge, let me go get it. I don't have that connection yet. Let me go find someone. What has that journey looked like for you?
I'm definitely scrappy. Like, I'm still scrappy. I think, well, being open, because we all learn from our mistakes, and I think a mistake that I've made a lot of mistakes over the course of my directing career, for sure, but learning to be open and learning to admit your folly. Like, I remember, and this bothers me to this day, Michael, on the set of Darrell, Michael Knight wanted to say a line a certain way, and I think I still had something, like I had something to prove, and I was like, we're gonna say it this way, it's totally fine, and I know, but like I was like, I know what I'm doing. And I to this day, and like he always laughs, he's like, why do you I mean, that was like 5 years ago, or 6 years ago I shot this movie. I can't even remember. And it still bothers me that I didn't, I mean, this is a man who's won Daytime Emmy Awards. Right. And, you know what I mean? I mean, I think he knows what he's doing. And to really give me a good kick in the ass, I look at that scene and I'm like, oh, I should have just let him set the friggin' line the way he wanted to. It would have been so much better. But, so like, looking back now, I sort of, I really learned a lesson from that. Not only do I regret just being an idiot, but I really learned a lesson. And I think like we have to be open to falling in our face. Yeah. We have to be open to, you're gonna wake up and go, what the hell am I doing? Why am I doing this? This is insane. Like, I can't, is this worth all of the effort? But I think, and I have like a totally degree in a different field that I can go and I can do very well at, but I've chosen this path because it's what fills me and it's what I feel like I need to do with my life. And I've had way more failures than successes for sure.
Do you feel like because of the transition, right? Like from actress to then, like I know you were writing some too for like a minute too, and then you like are just like nuzzling into like director, which is great. Do you think that because being in this industry for a long time, I've been in this industry for a really long time, the way that our careers sometimes morph, I also think it's something that like sometimes I don't know if you experience this, so maybe you have, and you know, Preston's been doing it like, you know, a little while, not as long, but even just the short time that I've known him, to kind of see like how your career kind of evolves. Like I think to be open, because I think sometimes you get married to an idea.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right. It's like, okay, when I first started acting, I was like, okay, I'm going to be like this, like dramatic actress, or I'm just going to do this one thing. And then like, as things started coming up, it's almost like I'm a little bit stubborn. So it's like, I don't want to do that. Like, that's not what I want to do. And then I think we sit in that moment where we're not unhappy, where we're kind of unhappy, but we're not admitting it. And we're not seeing like, maybe like the progress that we were hoping, like for myself. And then finally, when we make that change, we start seeing like, oh, maybe this is more my wheelhouse, because I'm seeing more doors open and I'm seeing more. And then now it's like to go from like, I wanted to be doing, I don't know what, like crazy, like action films, or I don't know what I wanted. And like, come on. And then, you know, and then I started like dabbling into comedy, and then I started dabbling into some writing. And then, but I was so resistant at first. And I was wondering if you ever struggled with that through the trajectory of your career, if you felt like, you know, I wish I would have dabbled with more, like if you had any instincts that were like, maybe this is something that you should be doing, but that you kind of denied, or do you think that the timing was perfect? Does that make sense?
It does. That's a really great question. I think it's a combination of both. I think that, I resisted, while I loved that whole rush of my one film, or the first film, I should say, that like won a couple of awards and me Best Actor. I was like kind of not wanting to admit that it was really more the directing that I was really being pulled towards. You like feeling good and you like winning things, right? Yeah. We're always like looking at this prize that really, at the end of the day, like it doesn't really mean anything, but at the time it really did. Mm-hmm. And I think I was resisting the fact that directing was really what I wanted to do. And it wasn't until, I think I really started to delve into and talk, like say things that people would say, well, you just sound like a director.
Interesting.
And so the trajectory wasn't this painful pull away from acting, but it was definitely like I had like a hitch in my giddy up where I was like, oh, well, I don't know, I'm just going to be an actor director like Ben Affleck, and right. I was like, but I think, and then listening to directors speak, like I went on all these panels, like I'm like,
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like listening to them speak, I didn't consider myself a director at the time, but I would go to all these panels, and I remember listening to Ava Duvernay, and I was like, I was going to wash her feet. I'm like, oh my God, you're my hero. Holy shit. Can you please mentor me?
Right. You're like, excuse me.
She's like, I'm a little busy. No, we've actually never met, but I did see her at several, talk on several panels. And this was before Selma, like before like all that, like before she blew up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, and then like Gina Prince Blythewood, like I saw her on a panel once, and I'm like, I'm doing the wrong thing, and just like really being inspired by these women, especially Lynn Shelton. And so I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And then by the time I got on my third movie, I was like,
okay,
I'm all done.
You're like, we good here.
Yeah. for sure. And I would always be like on a lot of sets that I was on, I'd always be poking behind for whatever reason. The crew always took me under their wing. So like I would be hanging out with the crew and they'd be showing me stuff and I'd be like, this is really cool. And
like, you mean stuff that you booked like as an actor or just?
Yeah.
Oh, no way. That's awesome.
Yeah. Even I did a Tide commercial and it was like the absolute worst weather I think LA was ever having. Like, it was absolutely insane.
Weather.
Okay. It was 42 degrees.
Oh, Lord.
We were supposed to be wrapped at midnight, and at midnight turned into 6 o'clock in the morning. And I was just getting over this horrible cold. And anyway, long story short, the sound guys brought me back in this tent that had all these heaters in it. And they're like, do you want to see what we're doing back here? And I was like, hell yes. Because I was so curious about what was happening back there. Yeah. And at that point, I had done like 4 or 5 projects at the time. So I just really have always been interested in what was in the wheel.
Yeah. How the clock's put together.
Totally.
That's awesome. Now, you said something earlier that I was like, oh, I want to ask her about it. You have a degree in something else?
Yeah.
What does like alternate timeline Christianna look like? What would you be doing with your degree?
I have a master's degree in psychology with a focus on criminal sociopathy because I thought I was going to be Jodie Foster in Silence of the Lambs.
Yes, girl.
And then you found out you want to be Jodie Foster making movies.
Exactly. I was like, see, Joni, you've influenced me a whole lot.
But that's such an interesting, major and like discipline.
It is. Well, my dad was like, I'm sorry. You're not going to go flake off to LA and be an actor.
Really?
Oh, yeah. So he's like, you can go to school.
You can go finish school first, and then you can go be crazy if you want to.
Right. He's like, you're going to go get another degree. Because I was like, but I have a bachelor's. He's like, yeah, not enough. So
I love that.
I got a master's degree, and while I was still while I was acting. I mean, I was acting while I was going to graduate school, and it was crazy. It was a crazy time of my life because I was like, oh, this is really fascinating, and I love this discipline of psychology, but and I was so convinced I was going to join the FBI and I was going to be a profiler.
Think about it. That's the study of people.
Yeah.
As an actor, that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like a human condition or, to some degree.
I can definitely see how that informs, your work or could inform your work. Do you find that you gravitate towards stories that include like criminal justice or anything like that? Or is that just a sidebar?
As a viewer, as an audience participant, I definitely gravitate towards those kinds of things that I want to see, like crime
Traumas
shows.
And stuff.
Oh my God. If we just binge watched The Five, I'm not even sure.
Yeah.
Right. And, my husband and I are like, we don't even know if we really even think this is good, but it's just so fascinating. So we're going to watch it. And the whole time I'm like, yeah, I am definitely drawn to that as a viewer. I haven't had a whole lot of opportunity to direct those types of projects. I would love to. If I had the opportunity, I would jump all over it because I think it's so much fun to play with these characters and to play with their psyche and to kind of delve into that. But definitely graduate school, I mean, on its face has helped me. I'm really good in a crisis. I can have a hangnail and it's the end of the world and the sky is falling and oh my God, it's kids. But in a giant crisis, I'm like, okay, we got this. And I really think that that's from trying to balance grad school and making auditions and doing all this other kind of stuff. I think,
kind of like Forged by Fire, having to be responsible through all the craziness of the auditions kind of.
Yeah.
Gave you some perspective.
Well, it's kind of like, awesome. You put your kids in sports. I mean, this varies kind of minimal, I'm not saying, but there's a lesson that's being learned, even if at the end of it, you're not doing that thing.
100%.
Whether it's teamwork or whether it's being, I would imagine the discipline of having to balance life into real life, being out here and being resourceful.
Yeah.
I'm sure you learned that through going to graduate school.
Absolutely. Because they didn't care. People in grad, your professors don't give a flying, what.
Right.
If you have like a shoot. Like they don't care. Like nobody cares.
They're like, and you're telling us why?
Right.
Great.
Right.
Great. Sounds like a personal problem to me.
Cool. Guess you're staying up tonight.
Right. Exactly.
Right. Guess you're not sleeping.
There's also a great deal of project management, which directing is, that and producing is, that's huge. Having to manage your schedule, manage other people's schedule, and all that.
Which, make no mistake, I don't do really well managing my schedule. I think like I try really hard. I'm really good at the holy shit, I gotta do this. Like still right now. To this day, I'm like, how am I gonna have a kid? I'm like, oh my God, my kid has a project tomorrow and we're gonna start it right now at 9 o'clock
at 9 p.m.
Yeah.
Somebody run to Big Lots. We got to go get some construction paper.
Yeah, exactly. Dioramas, no problem. I got this.
I love that.
Yeah, I love that. And I do like, it's a terrible quality, but like I will get the thing done.
Yeah.
It just might be at my expense of my sleep and sanity.
Hey, whatever it takes.
Now I'm reminding, as I just had the thought, that you did play a cop in a commercial recently that was pretty huge.
I did.
Oh yeah, with Chris Pratt.
Yes.
I was like, that's why she looks so official. She has the background.
I got that background.
That's awesome. By the way, what was the audition for that? Like, what did you have to do?
Honestly, like what I did in the
you just had to sit and like pretend like you were like on a horse.
Yeah, you had to sit on a stool and just give this look. And I have this eyebrow, like I just can do this one eyebrow thing, and then I did that in the audition, and I didn't do it in the callback. And the guy remembered, and he was like, "Can you do that thing with your eyebrow?" And I was like, "Sure." You couldn't see it in the commercial because I had this helmet on that like covered up my eyebrow. But I still do work commercially. As an actor, which, I try not to tell people because then they're like, oh, you're an actor. Great.
One of them.
Yeah. They're like, okay. I love when people too, they're like, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I'm a filmmaker. I'm a director. How's that going for you?
Oh God, people are so shitty.
Have I seen you in anything? That's my favorite question.
Have I seen any of your movies in the theater?
Probably not.
Calm down.
That question is like, I'm like, okay, listen.
Is that how people ask you shit like that?
All the time.
Oh my God, punch me in the face.
Have I seen anything you directed? No.
But I can show you. I can give you a link.
You haven't seen a damn thing I directed unless you've been to, and then I just list these film festivals.
Exactly. That's my favorite way to answer that. Totally. No, probably not.
What is like?
Probably never seen it.
What would be like your dream? Yeah, not job, but like I guess within like this pursuing this directing. Like what in a perfect world where there's no limitations? Like what would you be like? This is what I would love to be doing.
Yeah.
Oh, in a perfect world, I mean, I want to do historical drama, like 300.
Oh, girl, get that.
Brave, like I want to be doing like all of that stuff, like Bravehearts and.
He would be watching every movie. Not that I wouldn't, but he is.
I'll buy a ticket. I'll go see it.
Gladiator, like those are like I just love it, and I just think the whole I'm always watching, and I'm like, how do they do Game of Thrones? I was a Game of Thrones rabid fan, and a lot of the times my husband would be like, can you just enjoy the show? Because I'm like, wait a second, can you go back, because I don't understand how they framed that shot, I don't understand, and he'd be like,
that's awesome.
But yeah, that would be for sure like a dream opportunity. I think one of the things that I unfortunately, and I'd love to sort of be a part of pushing the needle, is a lot of those historical dramas, they don't afford for a lot of people of color to participate as actors, and that really bothers me. So like I was really late to the party on Game of Thrones because I was like, there's only 2 brown people in that whole show and I'm not watching it.
You're like, nope.
I resisted for a really long time, and finally I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch it. And so that's like where I sort of am like, oh, we need to just create some new sort of historical dramas that include people of all, colors and creeds and races and that sort of thing.
Of course.
But yeah, that would be like my dream. But where my as I've been told, where my talents lie is in the comedy realm. I love social commentary. Like I really love like those, like my best friend's always like, why does everybody die in your movies? I'm really sorry. I don't know.
Like, sorry, that just happens.
It does. And like, she's like, can you just keep them alive? Just for, just, you know, we can imagine what happens to them.
Can you just leave it open-ended?
Right.
Let me pretend it's happily ever after.
Totally.
We can pretend like he died in our minds.
But I do like, I really, you know, especially with things around, you know, racism and that sort of thing. Like I have like sort of a drive to want to do those types of projects because it's kind of, I don't know, it's relevant to me and it's relevant in the world. And so I just have that real desire to want to.
You want to get the word out, or like just to kind of like show that I think we talked about it with one of our guests, other guests. It's like to be able to. There's some people that to a certain degree will never experience certain things because of where they live, their skin color, their race, their gender, whatever. And I think that sometimes that is part of storytelling and like filmmaking or TV, whatever, to get a sneak peek into somebody's life that you would otherwise not be able to like kind of understand. You know, and like it's almost like sometimes when you fluff it up too much and you take out the like the weight of it or like the realness of it, that's not really like life. Like I think of, you know, this is a really crazy example, but that movie, did you see that movie, what is it, Straight Outta Compton?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a good movie.
So, you know, we talk to certain people and they're like, oh, the language is so bad, but the language, and I'm just like, it's so gratuitous. And I'm like, okay, first of all, I thought they did a pretty decent job with it not being super gratuitous and nudity. Right. But like, the truth is, that is the language. That's how they speak. Yeah. Like, I'm sorry that, like, the truth is, that is the culture of that particular time with those particular you know, that and
demographic.
Yes.
For sure.
And it's like you take that away, you're literally watering down the like what that is. And I think you can't.
You can't understand. You're not understanding the story.
That it's like if you're taking away like the fact that there are drive-bys. Yeah. Oh, what do you want to like shoot a gun with feathers coming out of it? Like that's not freaking real life.
It's not real life. It's not, and it would do an injustice to the individuals living in that time, in that place. Right. If we try to take away from that experience by 100%, like you said, fluff it up. It's just, you know, and that's kind of like that's where my heart lies right now. But I think that, you know, in this industry, because we are talking about no business like show business. Yes. You know, you're told, like, you are told at every corner what you should be doing with your career. And, you know...
That's true. I was told by a guy who was like, you need to get headshots as a garbage man.
No.
I'm not even joking. I was like, what? He's like,
okay, bye.
You book a commercial or so as a garbage man. That's a good idea.
Because there's so many garbage man commercials.
I know.
Yeah, please get
I'm going to get right on that, thanks.
That's just a small example, but you were saying.
No, yeah, I mean, like, even, you know, I just watched a private screening of a documentary by a gentleman, last name Donahue. Can't believe I can't remember his first name. Blame on Prego Brain. This Changes Everything. And it's basically just about how insanely fucking hard it is for females to just get anywhere as in Hollywood, and definitely as directors, but just also too, like, things that are said and done on set as actors and that sort of thing, and how insane it is. Excuse me. And you know, I'm sitting there watching this movie and I'm all, yeah, that's my life right there. And you know, you're told, like, even with fellowships and stuff like that, like these, you know, directing fellowships, and you know, you're told, well, the reason why you didn't get in was because you didn't market yourself properly, and this is how you're supposed to market yourself. Okay.
So you get feedback.
So you get for some of them, you know, and I will definitely not name any, but you know, I was told, and I was like, so I basically said to the person who was giving me the feedback, I'm like, so you mean that if I did just this one thing, I would have. And she was like, oh, absolutely. We want to teach you how to.
But how would that be specific to like you as a female versus like a male? Do you think that note, whatever that note was, would have been the same for like a dude or no? Because,
you know, I definitely am not in the man hate camp. But I will say that men inherently do not have to jump through the hoops that females have to jump through. Now, most of these fellowships are for females only.
Right.
And so like a guy wouldn't have got, no,
right.
But I think that the issue that I have right now in the industry is you have a lot of the powers that be that want you to go through these fellowships before they give you
a shot
to shadow on their set. And I've been really blessed, and I've been able to shadow on some great sets. But through people that I've known and whatever, and sort of like, again, being scrappy and trying to get on a set because they take that very seriously. But you do not hear about dudes having to do 5 fellowships before they get their first shot. I mean, and you have women that literally are going through fellowship after fellowship after fellowship, and then they're shadowing, and then they have to shadow for a year or whatever it is.
Application after application, hoping that they get in. Like I know a girl who literally had the hardest time, and if it wasn't for one like kind of older gentleman that like really took her under her wing, like she wouldn't be where she's at today.
And that's amazing because like that's why I'm like, it's and there's only like 12 in LA, and you have people that just rotate through these fellowships, and it's fine. But it is, some of us are kind of sitting here scratching our heads going, I know guys that are doing television and they've done 2 shorts.
Yeah.
And when you're, for whatever reason, it's like you're not even on their radar. And so you do have a lot, when you do get feedback, they're like, okay, well, your application should look like this, or your script you should submit a script that's this, but then your follow-up, submission should be this. And you're told at every corner, well, don't do it this way, and do it this way. And if you want to do TV, and your heads are spinning, but then you're some guy that's done 2 shorts and you're directing Jurassic World. It's like mind boggling to me, but that is just a reality of the place that we live in.
How do you get through? How do you like overcome that? Like it not emotionally, but just,
how does your spirit not die as a result?
It's dead, guys. It's taking a dirt nap.
You're like, what are you talking about? It is.
My spirit's taking a dirt nap for a long time. No, oh God, I don't know. Because I don't know. I mean, because I can't even imagine what I'm supposed to do.
Because really, at the end of the day, that's the truth. Like, what are you going to do? Like, at the end of the day, if this is what you're going to do, you're going to figure out a way to get in there either way, right?
You have to figure out. I do have like a lot of colleagues that are like, screw that, I'm not applying to any of these things ever again. And I'm like, okay, you guys can do that, but you have to play the game until we figure out how to dismantle this monopoly that's happening. Like, you have to do it. You have to, I mean, no, okay, you don't have to do it, but if you want to direct television, for example, this is the path you have to take, and it's not fair and it isn't right, but it is what it is. And, you kind of have to just like roll up your sleeves and be like, okay, and you do get really good at talking to people and writing those essays and finding mentors that are willing to take you under their wing and asking people for what you need. Because ultimately, we as women are, I mean, the statistics are so depressing if you look at it. And actually, like, between, I think 20, I don't want to misrepresent the statistics, but I believe that like female directors, the percentage actually went down after Me Too. I mean, by like 0.5%, but whatever it was. So like, how is that?
You're like, how is it even going down even more after this movement that was supposed to be helping?
It's crazy. And like, you have the original 6, which were the original 6 women back in 1979, that sued for more women to have opportunities. And I'm watching this documentary.
What's this documentary?
And that's the same one you were talking about?
This changes everything.
Is it on like Netflix or anything?
It hasn't been released yet.
Okay.
But I believe that on July 22nd, and I think I'm like giving all this wrong information. Your listeners are going to be like, she wrong.
That's okay. They're forgiving.
Please forgive. But there is like 1,000 theater like watching thing, and everybody's going to go and watch this movie. And I want to get as many people as possible to watch this movie because I think it's important. And it's not just in Hollywood. It's about Hollywood, but I think it's everywhere where we're seeing just like women kind of just be like, it's a fad, it's a phase, they're going to go away. And that's what happened back in the 70s when these women originally sued for more opportunity. And I'm listening to this amazing woman talk about how she goes, so the studio has finally approved women to have more opportunity, but we had to observe and observe and observe. And then I'm looking at my fellow director sitting next to me like, we still have to do that. 40 some odd years later, we still have to shadow. It's just called shadow now. And it's just...
Is that just exclusive to women, the shadow thing? I'm familiar with the directing world.
I think you'll probably... I think, yeah. I don't think it's exclusive. I mean, I do think we just have to do it more.
More of it.
Yeah. I mean, I just think that that's just a reality of the...
Well, if you see the trend and that's what the experience is, I have no idea, but I would imagine like, it's almost like, it's such a hard thing. Like one of the things that you were talking about was like, this is a business. This is the business of show business. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like to some point you have to know the rules of the game. And though for certain people, those rules don't apply because I see so-and-so, like it's so funny. I saw this picture and again, whatever, people can talk shit all they want. But I saw this post on Facebook of this like really good looking, like 20 something, like blonde dude. Me? Like, baby, you're not 20 something, but yes. Hey. Yeah, but the thing was that he wrote this post and talking about how like he had never acted a day in his life and somebody found him and they were like, you should do this, and he just got an audition for Fast and the Furious 20 or whatever they're on. I have no idea.
Good for him.
But like the funny thing was he was just like thankful for the opportunity that somebody who's never even like literally like the greenest of green, but like I looked at his headshot, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm sure that's why you got an audition. Like totally. Sometimes it's so the thing is, it's like you got to know what you're working with, right? So some people, those are the exceptions. Like that's not typical, like everybody's experience. And I think that in that, it's like, okay, what are the rules for like where I'm at? Like for me, like my even lack of ethnicity, really. Right. Like I love how I have this shirt that's like Latina AF as fuck, whatever. But really, like I don't really fit that wheelhouse like perfectly. Yeah. And and then you have all these like rules even within like the community of like diversity and ethnicity and like auditioning and how there should be more opportunity for people of color, but even in that, right? So it's kind of like, because we've even had this conversation. I was like, where do you draw the line? Though I do think that there needs to be more opportunity, 100%. Totally. It's also like, okay, when what's homegirl's name? The redhead, Emma Stone.
Yeah.
Emma Stone was in that like movie where she played Hawaiian or something. Everybody was like giving her shit, right?
Right.
Okay, what? Yeah. But then I think to myself, okay, well, like, okay, within like within the ethnic community, like let's just say that they're like casting a role that's for Latinas, right? Mm-hmm. Like looking for Latinas, like 25 to 35, whatever. But let's just say like you're not Latina, like you are like Italian or you are like Middle Eastern, but you can kind of play Latina. It's like, how is that different?
That's really interesting that you say that, because if you asked me that question 3 years ago, I might have said, well, I want to give any person of color the opportunity to play a person of color. Now I'm a little bit more like, well, in the situation with, I know the movie you're talking about. I can't think of the name, with Emma Stone.
She was like a Hawaiian or something,
You mean to tell me you can't find one?
I think she was like half Asian.
Yeah,
was her
or half Hawaiian and half something.
Like there's not
one.
As a
character, I mean.
There's not a half Pacific Islander in the whole city of California or New York. Give me a break. Like that. I'm just kind of like, nah, that doesn't fly.
Right.
I love Emma Stone, but come on.
No, for sure.
But, you know, it's interesting that you say that because I've, you know, when I was acting, I was going out for whether it was mixed race or.
Yeah. Right. Well, mixed race, I think, is a little bit more like.
Yes, which I am biracial. So basically, like, you know.
Yes, 100%.
Or Latina, I would go out for a lot, you know, and they'd be like, can you speak Spanish? I'm like, no, not like at all. So now I'm kind of like, well, I'd rather, you know, because there is such a lack of representation. That's why, like, I love when, like, actors, like white dudes especially, no offense,
we'll see
like,
if I take it. I'm just kidding.
They're like, I can't book any roles. They're just going to, like, they're going to all the ethnic guys. And I'm like, really? Have you watched any television at all? Because I'm pretty sure the ethnic dudes are still not booking them jobs, guys.
Well, they're like 2 parts on, like, the whole cast that's, like, not that.
Exactly. And it's so, you know, we just have a really serious representation problem in Hollywood as it is. And I'm not trying to say that men don't struggle to be directors or that any man, like, I'm not trying to I'm not trying to insinuate that any dude can walk onto a, you know, Fox lot and be like, cool, I'm gonna direct this episode. I'm just
did I show you my man card?
Right. I'm a dude.
I can get that.
But I do think that it is a lot easier. But yeah, I think, like, for enough room, even if I wasn't adamant, my producers would definitely be adamant about the fact that we're going to cast, like, a real Latina in the role. Because, that's just, it's what we should do. And it's what's representative of the role. So, like, and there's plenty of amazing, you know, Latinx actors out there that are not getting opportunity. Just like there's amazing Black actors and Asian actors and Pacific Islander actors, you know, it's just like there is enough room, because that's what the script is called for this reason, for discussion to come to the table, but for all of us. And there's just giant, like, lack, and people really do say this is just a fad, that it's just temporary. And,
what do you mean?
Like, basically, like, women, you know, directors and represent
wanting to be, or like not being able to, like, get in like the rooms or whatever is a fad.
Getting to be, but also too, like, the representation of more ethnicity and more color, if you will,
right,
on our screens is like, it's gonna go away, and we can't let that happen. It's happened before, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, you have too many people that are in charge. They're like, well, look how many Black people have won an Oscar now, and it's like, that's not okay.
Yeah, that can't even be the argument.
One of my biggest critique is whenever the note is taken, and then the more roles that are given are the racist, like, small-minded picture of what that person is. So,
For
like,
sure.
something that Nadia and I talk about a lot. I'm like, I hate whenever people are like, oh, diverse, and then they're like, we need a Latino to only do that Latino thing, and their job is to be, you know, something that a Latino person would, and it's like, to me, cast someone who can be that person, who can not be, like, not have that accent all the time. Not to say that they can't have the accent, but you don't
want everybody to be like a comical version of, like, what is to be Latina, because then you're playing out stereotype. So it's hard.
It's hard. It's
a hard balance.
It is, and it's also really disrespectful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think I was talking to a friend of mine, Catrice. I think it might have been Catrice. You know Catrice, and I think because she works at CBS, and we were talking about how, like, the casting. Like, I think it was when they were casting 90210, like the remake, like back in the day.
Yeah.
And it's just so funny because it's like, dude, like, the part doesn't have to always be written like, this needs to be a Latina who was, like, from the streets, but now she, like, cleaned her life up. Great. Like, let that be a role. But then it's also like, hey, how about Deputy Stephanie Rogan? How about she's just, like, she doesn't have to be Caucasian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how about, like, it doesn't the whole story doesn't always have to be. I mean, there could be like parts of like that person's story if to enrich that culture so people can see that, obviously, because you don't want to like do away with culture, right? But I think that there's also room for like, I think if people don't write it where it's like this idea of like what is to be like a Latina or this or that, then like they can't picture an African American actress or an African American actor in that role if it doesn't say African American. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Exactly. It has to say, which is bananas to me. Like it just, and I understand.
And I
like,
get that there has to kind of be that to kind of be like, oh, this is a Caucasian male. But I guess you know what I'm saying. I don't know.
Yeah. It's very, very strange that we have like this really just a lopsided, we have no balance. But, you know, we just have to have, because look at real life. I mean, right now there's 3 people sitting in this room and you have 2 women of color. And I mean, it's just like, that's real. Yeah. That's just real life. I'm not saying that if you're in certain parts of the country that you're not only with, you know, maybe if you live in certain parts of the country or you live in a certain town or whatever, that all of your friends and family are white. That's, you know, okay, but we have to be more representative of this nation as a whole, and this nation is very, very mixed.
It's a melting pot.
It's a melting pot.
That's how it began. It began by all immigrants.
Exactly.
So I know it can be a complicated and difficult topic, but if we were pulling the strings and we were making it all happen in Hollywood, what would be the solve? Like if it was up to us and we can do it, what would be the solve?
It's like, how do you do that without being pandering? Right. And like saying like, okay, we need 3 black people on this show and we need 5 Latinas, where it's like equal opportunity, but not always equal outcome.
Yeah.
I mean,
or like what would, like what, I don't know. Like I think about it. It's like, what would be the solve to where,
and no pressure. Cause I know
it's not just you. We're just talking about this. We're just talking about this. Cause if you think about it, it's like, how does this not like be just a fad to where like this could be something that realistically can just be like ingrained into what our industry should be.
That all stories are
whether
told.
It's female, whether it's color. It's such a crazy thing. I guess we can.
I think no. I mean,
we're not going to solve it here.
We're not going to solve it here. But I'm only riffing. But I think that people are always looking at numbers, right? So for the longest time, it's like you can't have you're not going to sell a black lead in China, which is actually not true. Do you know what I mean? Like that was like a thing for a really long time. Like an African American like lead character is like gonna tank in Asia, and that's been disproven, right? Same thing with like female stories, like not just a female helmed story, but like female stories are not going to do well in the box office. That's been disproven. Yeah. I mean, the statistics don't lie, like numbers and like money doesn't lie, but people are just sort of like, I'm not looking. So I think really educating, again, the powers that be, that this is good for everybody.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is like, you know, we can really.
Didn't that Crazy Rich Asian movie make a lot of money? And it's like.
And the writer and the creators of that film,
movie.
Like they were offered a ton of money by Netflix, and they were like, no, we want our
no way.
Oh yeah,
theater release.
Wow. And I believe it's Warner Brothers that released it. I think I'm not really sure, but I believe that Warner Brothers did not offer them Netflix money, but they were like, we'll take it. And that movie killed.
Yeah,
and it was
so good.
Romantic comedy. I mean, like, that's another thing. People just have all these ideas of what works and what doesn't work, and then they see it and they're like, well, that was just an accident.
So stupid.
So I think
that was a fluke, but you can't do that again.
A carefully organized years in the making fluke
happens all the time, and that's again, like you see these statistics, and it's like, but it's there in black and white, and nobody is paying attention. Well, people are paying attention, but I think that would be one way of approaching a solve, is just educating more people that have the power. That listen, guys and gals, mostly guys, we have this.
Unfortunately,
we have the data, you know, and I think that when you're data mining and you're getting all this information, you can't make that up. And we just, you know, and also too, I think, us not giving up, you know, those of us who are
And also creating content and like having more of like what you can do, because honestly, I think that in all of it, there just needs to be more risk. I think even just like the, what do you call it? The trend of even what's happened. I mean, you look at all these remakes that are happening in film and even TV shows. It's like nobody wants to just take a risk onto like new entertainment. It's like they want what works. They want to see these formulas. And again, that's the balance, because if you want to work,
you got to know the business.
You have to know the business, and it is a business because people are in it to make money. I think that's just like the really tricky part of like, how do you like make the living, but also create projects that like shake up the like.
And as you said, it pushed the needle.
Yeah, push the needle.
Yeah. I think it's the beautiful and tragic catch-22 that is this industry.
All
it's
of it, because none of it makes sense sometimes.
None of it makes sense.
But you do have to keep trying.
Yes.
Oh, 100%.
It doesn't mean you give up, and you know, finding like-minded people, I think, is really important for
it's funny. Like I just started, you know, writing a little bit of stand-up and like and doing open mics and stuff. And it's funny because I have a friend who was encouraging me to do it, and she had wanted to do stand-up back in the day when she was in college. She's a little bit older, and so she was studying this like back in the day. And she's like, you know, it's funny. And she's not an actress, and she's not trying to like go be famous, but like she just did it for fun because it's something she's always wanted to do. And she's been like doing stand-up around town and in New York and this and that. And she was saying that, you know, it's funny because back in the day she loved stand up, but everybody told her, you're too pretty. Like you need to be ugly and overweight if you're even going to be a female stand up, and like you're just not going to make it. Like you're just not. And she's like, and I'm not even like. And the funny thing was, it's like now, like I hear from so many different comedian women that are like, yeah, like now you have women that are like pregnant doing shows.
Yeah.
Like you have like comics that don't have to look all crazy. But like it was definitely harder for women to get taken seriously. And I mean, I worked at the Laugh Factory for like a really hot minute. And this was even before like the wave of like women comedians. Like there was Kathy Griffin and stuff like that. Like a few, but not a ton. And it was a man's world. Like it was literally like 10 dudes to one woman, like up waiting for like their time. And literally, that's why I never even
considered
thought it would even be like a thing. Ever.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I'm glad you are.
And now you have like all these.
I'm so glad you are too.
We'll see about that. But anyway.
Now we love asking all of our guests a series of questions.
Sure, absolutely.
And these series of questions have one rule. Just answer off the top of your mind. Okay. There's no pressure. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just for fun to see what comes out in the moment. Nadia, take it away.
Okay, number one. If you could be any animal in the world, which animal would you be and why?
I would be a giraffe because I can stand tall above y'all.
Yes.
Oh, they're so cute too.
They're so cute.
We saw an interesting giraffe situation.
They were trying to do it. This guy was literally trying to chase this giraffe for like 20 minutes, like basically trying to like hump her.
I found out
just like,
that he's been going at it for years, and she's been saying, no, sir.
No, sir. First of all, but don't they have like a 22-month gestation period? Because I couldn't do that.
I think so.
That's crazy.
I can't even handle these 9
She's like,
months.
that's why this ain't
for
happening.
all those neck vertebrae.
Second question is, if you can only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
French fries.
Good choice. Which kind? Which kind?
From anywhere in particular?
The curly ones without the flavoring. I don't like those flavors.
You don't like the seasoned fries?
No.
Hey, nobody's perfect.
Number 3. If you could be any superhero or have a superpower, what would it be?
Yes.
Oh God. To be invisible.
That's the second invisible.
Yeah.
Love it.
I would love to be invisible.
Celebrity crush.
Oh my God. It's really hard, guys. It's Chris Pine or Anderson Cooper. I don't know.
No, that's like so different.
So different, but I think if both of them walked into this room, I would probably faint on the floor and die.
I love that. Chris
awesome.
Pine or Anderson Cooper.
I know. One definitely does not play for my team.
He's like,
Hey, but this is a ruleless game.
yeah,
Anything
right.
can happen.
No rules, man. Number 5. Your last question is, if you were not in this industry at all,
Yes.
what would you want to be doing?
Event planning.
Yeah, you would be so good at that.
You're good at it,
She's
too.
real good at that. I'm like, Christianna, am I forgetting anything? And I love to decorate, but event planning is on a whole new different level.
I would totally but I'd have to work for myself. Like I would produce events and stuff like that, like big events. I'd love that shit.
Oh, I believe it. You would be good at it too.
I love it. And if you were to give a piece of
this
advice.
is like side note. This is not part of the 5.
Oh, that was a great job with the 5.
Yeah.
Good job, baby. And you did a great job too.
Thank you.
With the last question that we asked, as we're kind of tuning everything down, is if you were to give yourself advice, or someone who's watching this or listening advice, and they want to be a woman director, a director period, what would be your like little nugget?
I would definitely say don't put any parameters on when it's supposed to happen or what it's supposed to look like. That's just going to be, I think that's would just be your downfall. And I think surround yourself with people that will elevate you and that will double you, right?
Yeah.
And do the thing. I don't care if it's on an iPhone. I don't care if it's on what it is. Just do the thing. Because you're going to learn and, find people. If you're not the best writer in the world, find somebody to write. If you have ideas that will write the scripts for you, and find your tribe. Alex Ferrari, who does Indie Film Hustle podcast. I love that podcast. Not as much as this one, but but he's always talking about like finding your tribe and the people that will elevate and inspire you. And I think that is so important. So yeah, and don't be afraid of, like, I'm of the Robert Rodriguez mind where, okay, film school, you don't need to go. Film school is going to be your set, but don't shy away from like classes and things like that. Like,
right.
Don't, do the UCLA extensions and the meetups and all that kind of stuff, because there is just a wellspring of knowledge, and also you meet people.
I was going to ask you, like, finding your tribe, like, how have you been able to do that? I know that you're part of this Alliance of Women Directors. Is that what it's called? Yeah,
I'm a member, and I'm on the board of Alliance of Women Directors. I'm a member / staff, if you will, of CineFem. I'm a member of Women of Color Unite. Member of Women in Media.
But that's probably how you're finding your tribe to some extent, right? Yeah. Or like, what did you think has been the best, most beneficial for you as a filmmaker, director?
Believe it or not, I've definitely have some really amazing connections and through my peer networks of like these female filmmaker groups. Like, they're so fantastic, and there's some like really inspirational women that I'm like, oh my God, you guys are doing the thing. But I also too like working on projects and not saying no, because there's this whole thing, like if you're at a certain place in your career, like you should not work for free. And I think if the project is good enough, and I don't know, you believe in it.
You never know, yeah.
It's like 2 days. Like, I know we all have to put food on the table. Do the thing, guys. Like that. And I feel like working on projects has really expanded that for me, my tribe, you know, and having this amazing crew that I get to work with on projects, and again, being open, because you're going to be like, I don't know if we vibe, but then you like give that opportunity to like meet a person, and you're like, oh yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome.
I love that. What a great way to put it. Be open. Find your tribe.
Yeah, man. And just do the thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Christianna, for joining us.
Having me.
A wonderful episode.
So great. I feel like we could have talked like forever.
We'll have to do a part 2 and a part 3.
So where can people find you to keep up with what you're doing, like your latest projects, or on social media and all that good stuff?
You can find me on Instagram at Carmine Direct, or my website is ChristiannaCarmineDirector.com.
All right, y'all, you better hit her up. Go give her a follow. Give her some likes and taps on her like post, and
let her know you heard of her from us.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for being here.
Until next time, this is No Business
Like Show Business. Peace.